probably why.
And we're back. But sorry, man, I cut you off before we went live. How are you?
Oh, sweet, mate. Oh, sweet. It's probably a good job, actually, man, because I didn't realise we were live, so I was swearing at that point. So
You can swear away, mate.
Probably a good thing, man. Oh, you can you?
Yeah. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure there'll be the odd word said, mate. Certainly we mention the Premier League. Let's face it. We're all suffering.
I got 100. You're not suffering. I got 100 questions for you, mate, and they're all about the orc we've got in charge right now. I got to stop calling him that because I've been winning games. But talk to me about how you felt with. You've obviously got fun memories of him in the championship. You got promoted. Talk to via the playoffs as well. Talk to me about how you felt the difference between Cooper managing you in the championship and then in your first season back in the Premier League. I know you signed a lot of players, a lot of money was spent.
Yeah, there's such a big difference. One of the things to recognise with Forest is we'd been out of the Premier League for, 23 years? So we weren't a Premier League club. Your whole infrastructure is completely different. Training facilities aren't as good as scouting. The whole club, it's not geared really for the Premiership. So that has to be remembered with Cooper a little bit. And I do think he recognised that. And we went from pretty flowing sort of football to sort of soaking up and hitting on the break, more low block type football. So it's a bit miserable. I've got to say, the problem is you always feel you're clinging on a little bit. In the championships, you felt like you were dominating games, even games where you got a good result in the first season. That's the difference between the Premiership to the Championship as well. But you definitely felt like you were clinging on. It felt like. It sort of felt like we were just throwing a lot of stuff up in the air and going, let's see what lands, and we stayed up. We're still there, so they did something right. But would I recommend it? No. It was definitely hard work. So
stressful season for you. Worse for us. You stayed up. So do you think you struggled with the adaptation to the pace and the speed of the Premier League in conjunction with you guys spent 100 million, you backed Cooper? Do you think the signings that you guys made were signings that Cooper wanted, or do you think that was more so the owner?
That's a hard question, because to start with, you would have blamed the owners. Definitely at the time, we were more like, because they are characters. His son as well. His son normally does a end of transfer window buy. It's mad buy at the end. We love them owners, mind. Nothing but respect and love for them. But after having Nuno and seeing a pre-season there, and seeing the transfer window, and seeing the changes throughout the club with a manager that's got Premier League experience, I would say that Cooper must have had some input into it, or perhaps not enough input. He wasn't experienced enough to give enough input, or there certainly wasn't really a plan. We had one style of playing. If a player got injured, it was like you'd look to the bench, you'd think, "Oh God." So that's that. So I would say Cooper definitely had some sort of some input, but without too much planning. If I criticised him, Cooper with that, I'd say he didn't really have a plan. So they just went on a spending spree and went, well, we'll just get as much as we can and shove it in that way. Cooper should have been able to say, like, this is what I want, this is what I've identified, and I don't think that happened. So yeah, but a lot of love for him still, Cooper. You know, he's we owe him a little bit, you know. So yeah, bless him.
A lot of fans say that from Forest, you know, like you've got to respect him. And so towards the end, like before he was sacked, were you Cooper out? Like, did you just think the writing was on the wall? Do you think he would have seen you?
Yeah, I was actually Cooper out a little bit before that. I do believe that he had some sort of brownie points and he had some credit in the bank from what but you could tell the writing was on the wall that season. We just we were disjointed, and you can't be playing every game and 28% possession, you know, and hoping you might. Especially with the keeper that we had last season, Matt Turner. I mean,
Keylor Navas, he came for 6 months, didn't he? He kept his up big time, you reckon? Navas came in you guys on loan, yeah. That was
we had Navas, and then Sells has come in. He's been really good, steady more than really good. That's what you want. They say with keepers, don't they? You're not talking about them; they're doing all right.
So Sells started poor and he's come good, and I agree with you. Now, do you think that's because we'll move on to like Nuno? Like, so for starters, what do you think is the biggest difference between Nuno and Cooper? Cooper plays a low block a lot. Nuno's very defensively minded, structured, counter-attacking football. What are your thoughts on, like, do you think that Sells, you're getting the better out of him now because he feels more comfortable with a better, more structured defense in front of him? How much credit? Like, talk to me your difference between the two managers.
The big difference between Cooper and Nuno is actually what's off the pitch as well. There's a plan, you know, and that's gone to off the pitch. You know, to put it into probably an example, like our academy players, they are coached to the same system as what Nuno and what the club expects. So when they're coming through, that they're able to integrate a lot easier. They train in the same way. They eat the same sort of stuff. So it's all within the club, how the club is supposed to perform. And that then transfers to your transfer market, which you saw this. We must be the only club in history to have let out a sigh of relief on the last day of the transfer window, because we didn't buy, you know, too much. I think every Forest fan just went, fuck off that. But and that's the big one. I think Cooper's very much into that sort of had a good atmosphere in the first team. You know, there was a good camaraderie and all the rest of it, but I don't think he spread it around the club. He didn't spread it obviously to the scouts. So Nuno would be very much, this is the type of player we're looking for. Even when he was interviewed, he would say, look, I'm also looking for a player that can fit in this way. Can he play this role? Can he do? With that, it wasn't like that with Cooper. It's kind of just like, yeah, you know.
That's how I feel.
He just sort of like, I think he just sort of flicked down like that, and that one I do, that one. So,
yeah, hope it sticks. Like, this breaks my heart, everything you're saying, because this is everything that I thought Enzo done. When Enzo first came to Leicester, you know, I felt I let out a sigh of relief when we got relegated after the transfer window closed, because I thought, well, we're going to be like a fucking. I felt like Leicester City was a carcass, and we're going to get picked clean off by all these vultures. We lost Madison and Tillemans. That was to be expected, and Barnes, Castagne. But we actually retained quite a lot of players, and we even brought Harry Winks in the league below, which I thought was crazy. Now, then Enzo comes in and he drains all the backroom staff, and he says he basically wants a brand of football that he's stuck to. If plan A doesn't work, try plan B again. Some people didn't like him for that, but I would rather identity. And then he goes into the youth as well for everything that you just said. So should the youth come up and the players that make it, they slot straight into a system. And that is what I would like to see again. Now, with Cooper, this is all conspiracy talk, but there's been a lot of rumors that he came in, he spoke to the senior players, asked how they want to play. He said he'd watched all of our games, but that's a load of bullshit in my opinion, because the way we started off was like red hot scary. What I want to talk to you about is like, I've seen, like, for instance, Ricardo Pereira completely frozen out, and I think that's crazy. Did Cooper fall out with players? Did he freeze players out while his time in Forest? What are your thoughts on that, Bert?
I wouldn't say he massively fell out with too many. We did have people like Harry Arter. He was a pain in the arse, that guy. It was as much him as it was Cooper. But the problem I think with Cooper is he sets to that system, and if it doesn't fit exactly to that point, it's like the kind of pushed to the side. They're no longer there in your team. It's kind of a little bit like, I need you to run around and do this and low block here and then sprint up there. And if you have a player that's a little bit more likes to be a little bit more coached and controlled with his positions, I don't think Cooper is the man for that. He's I was watching your last game against Southampton, and your first half especially, you just looked scrappy, and that's probably where Cooper, for me, it's this sort of scrappy style. If you have a look, you should be moving in banks, and especially the lower teams such as ourselves, the smaller clubs. You need that strong structure. You need to be able to look to your bench as well, and somebody be able to come in and slot straight to that. With Cooper, the big thing with Cooper was you'd look to your bench all the time. You think, well, who they're going to bring on now? It was. But yeah, it needs to be understood as well. I mean, the first game of the season, we didn't have any new signings in that team. Obviously, Danella got injured after 10 minutes, but again, he was replaced by Yates. And so it's not like this big overhaul of the team.
Yep.
It's nothing like that. It's just literally them knowing a little bit better where their place is and what they're supposed to do. Cooper's a good manager still. I don't want to sound too critical. Actually, he'll get you wins, and But I will say it didn't take long this season for Forest fans to realise, that's what a Premiership manager does.
Well, look.
If that makes sense.
It does, and I'm going to get into that in a sec. We've just got to bring in. We've got a special guest today. He's just popped in. Locks, how are you, mate? All right.
I'm good,
Locks,
mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Locks, this is my good mate Bert. He's a Forest fan.
Hey, how are you, matey?
All good, mate. All good, thank you.
Yeah, lovely.
Just going to quickly get in the comments here before I come to you, Locks. Jeff is in. Hi, Luke. My son and his two boys are all Forest fans, have been gifted hospitality tickets for the game by me's best mate. Leicester fan, am I jealous? Too right I am. Bragging rights up for grabs. Jack is in. Jack, Cooper's not even got 2 years experience at the moment, 4 years of prox and club management. He's still learning. Fair play. I'm sure Bert would agree with that. Forest started well last year. Also, it was an influx of new signings on deadline day that ruined the momentum for him. Unlucky to be sacked with 1 win in 13, especially considering what Nuno after. Winks at the box screamer to win it. I hope so, mate. Locks, how are you feeling today, mate? How are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, mate, it's going to be an interesting one, I think. I don't know. I've just clicked in, so I'm not sure if Bert is a Cooper inner or outer, or he was. But yeah, it seems to be. Look, every Forest fan I speak to, it does seem to be split. Not 50-50. I think the majority of Forest fans like him for what he did at Forest. They're obviously a small, there's a small percentage of Forest fans that really don't like him. But Yeah, mate. I mean, I predicted a 1-1 for this game, which I think I would take. I know that we should be looking. No offense to Burt or Forest, but I know we should be looking at teams like Forest and thinking, right, well, there is a chance to get some points on the board. But I do think it's going to be a tough game. They've had a good start to the season. They'll go 5th if they win. And they're currently 8th. So, you're not 8th for no reason. You're 8th because you're a decent side. So.
Well, that's bang on. Let's get into that. Let me just share this on the screen for you, Bert. Let me just get this up here. Some of the wins and games you guys, the points you picked up have been proper impressive, and it pains me to say that. You guys just beat Palace. You drew with Chelsea. Now that's a proper result in my opinion.
It's a good little game that as well. Yes, yeah, it was a good game. So
Fulham, there's no shame in that. They're playing some really good. I liked how Fulham shape up and they play. They're a decent side.
That's our worst performance actually. Fulham.
Yeah.
He actually tried something new. He tried 2 up front for that. He actually had Wood and Awani, and it didn't quite work for us, that one. And then we had the usual VAR moments, and that's actually that's where Maranakis just got his ban from, isn't it? 5 games.
It's crazy, isn't it? I bet that was a rude awakening for you, VAR, when you got promoted. We didn't miss it.
He owns the place, mate. But yeah, apparently he spat at the feet of the officials or something.
I did find that weird. How can they ban someone from the ground that they own? It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's like imagine the FA knocking on your door, right? You've got to move out your house for 5 days. It's like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've got a little bit like that though, haven't they? They're all big fans of Orwell. They've got this Orwellian sort of authoritarian vibe about them at the minute, haven't they? But even with when you look at the performances there, I can remember after the Liverpool game, and it was kind of weird that Forest fans were kind of a bit disappointed and going, we should actually be equal to Man City. We conceded a late goal against Bournemouth in our first game, terrible one, and then Wolves, we were a better team and should have really took the point. So it's this really strange thing with Forest at the minute that we're kind of looking and thinking. But again, it comes down to that structure that I'm talking about with the difference between Nuno and Cooper. The lads are right on what they're saying. But you want a manager your manager's the football person. Your manager's the one who knows what he wants for your team, or all that sort of thing, what he wants from players coming into the team. It should be him with the plan. And that's the difference. Under Cooper, I didn't really see a plan in that sort of full-formed structure like that. Under Nuno, that's definitely been there. And it's for you guys, it's a strange one. You said about keeping players. Well, you'd have done that because you had that Premier League structure in your club. You can see that, this could be a temporary blip, then we'll be back up. But if you yo-yo a little bit, you'll struggle more to keep them sort of players. That probably won't happen so much. Let's say you go down this season, you would struggle more. So if you're getting Cooper to keep you up this season, then he's doing a good job there. I mean, you're what, 9 points? Are you on? 9 points?
I'll pull that up. What do you reckon that's fair, Locks? What do you reckon? Do you reckon Maresca had a big part to play with keeping players and we got relegated? Do you think Seagrave plays a massive part? There's some sentiment to that. What are your thoughts, Locks?
Yeah, look, when we got relegated, naturally there were quite a few players who wanted to leave, and we did lose the best ones. You would probably say Yuri Tillemans left; he was always going to leave. James Maddison left, of course. Harvey Barnes went. So the 3 best players in my eyes left. there were rumours that there were actually 5 other players that wanted to leave, and Enzo Maresca kept them. After chatting with Enzo Maresca, he managed to keep them around. And as far as I'm aware, from what I've heard, 2 of them are Wilfred Ndidi and Yannick Vestergaard. Now, I don't blame Yannick Vestergaard for wanting to leave, even though he was shit at the time, and some would say he still is shit. Enzo Maresca kept him around, and he turned his career around at Leicester. It's gone back in the bin now under Steve Cooper, because Steve Cooper doesn't like him for some reason, but it is what it is. Wilfred Ndidi stayed because Enzo Maresca basically said to him, "You're going to be playing as 8 or a 10, a high 8." And so for somebody who's played their whole career as a 6, he probably thought, all right, then, yeah, I'm in here. You know what I mean? I'll stay around and play in a more attacking role. And he did really well at that. So, Dewsbury Hall, I don't think he was one of the ones that was pushing for a move at the time. He stayed anyway, and he was, excellent player of the season. So, yeah, look, I think that was a big part of it. Seagrave as well would have had a pull to it. I mean, I've just seen Forest have opened their new and improved training ground, but it's absolute shit compared to ours. So hey ho.
Wow.
Hey.
Getting on a flight now, Locks. Be careful.
Hey, theirs has just been refurbed, isn't it? But you never know.
It's the players you put on it, though, man.
Well, that's true. But I was going to say,
you need to worry about, man.
Yeah, if Leicester have another relegation and we struggle to get out of the Championship, I think you'll be buying offers, mate, to be honest with you. So there we go.
We wouldn't touch it, mate. We wouldn't touch it. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, we kept some big players around. We got promoted first time, and that's it really. We've come back up, and look, I don't like when people talk about Leicester now as obviously we are a newly promoted team, but in my eyes, we're not, because I think we got relegated under a freak season. And yes, we lost a few players, but I still think our squad now is Premier League quality. We're not a Luton or an Ipswich, that have just got promoted, and we've got the worst squad in the league, and we've got a lot of catching up to do. I think that our squad now is Premier League quality. So where we are in the league, to answer that question, I said this on a stream yesterday. I don't know if you like him, Bert, because I know a lot of Forest fans don't like him, but I was speaking to Wolfie and from Forest Fan TV.
No, Wolfie's all right, man. Yeah, no, he's good lad.
Good. Yeah, I speak to some Forest fans and they hate him. So yeah, just good to hear that you like him. So, and I was saying to him that I have to lay off Cooper a little bit. Look, me and Luke are like staunch, Cooper critics. We absolutely hate the guy. We don't see a future with him, but we have to lay off him a bit. He's just 1-2 on the bounce. We probably didn't deserve to win either of them games, but we did win them. That's all that matters. It's 6 points. So you have to lay off the guy a little bit. So I think where we are now is where we should be. Personally, I think the points we're on now is what we should be on. Because we should have beat Palace and we should have beat Everton, right? So there's 6 points there, and I don't necessarily think we should have beat Bournemouth in terms of how the game went. So I think we are where we should be. I'm happy with it for now. I do think we will fall a little bit. I'm not saying that we'll be in the bottom 3 in 6 weeks' time, but I think we will be a lot closer to it. Everton, Southampton, Wolves, they all might sack their managers. Once that happens, you never know where they'll end up. But look, I'll lay off the guy, Luke. I will lay off him a little bit because we're in a good position right now.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a second with a question, Bert. But to add to what you just said, Logs, I'm bang on with you, by the way. I'll lay off him for now. If he starts with a back 3 and does what we did in that second half against Southampton, I'll back him. I'll be like, you know what? You're pretty handsome for an orc. But probably not. But let me ask you this then. So, like, Bert, you talk about like under Nuno that you feel like you have an identity now and you're going to play to a system, but you say Cooper will probably keep us up. If he have stayed with you and you had to just hung on by the skin of your teeth, would you have really felt like next season we're going to kick up from here? Or would it have been like, oh, well, let's hope we don't get relegated? So now that you've got Nuno and an identity, you've got something to look forward to. This is kind of how Locks and I feel about Cooper, whereas he plays to hang on, not to win. He plays not to lose, not to win. Now, do you think that there was a difference between the championship, free-flowing football year in the Premier League now, influx of players, now all of a sudden you're playing a low block? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's harsh to say that?
Well, first of all, by the way, Forest don't play a low block. It's the problem there is just lazy pundits. It's like against Liverpool, it was a low block. Everyone says that because we beat Liverpool, so they went the only way they could do it is for a low block. You get the stats now, you'll see like the heat sheets, and you can see the minutes, the percentages where they play on the pitch, and we actually play more of a mid block. But that sort of thing, it's ridiculous anyway, because it starts with your forward. So you'll see Chris Wood, and just because the forward doesn't pressure the defender doesn't mean he's not doing something active. So you'll see that they might be blocking off because they want them to go a particular side, so everybody can move over like that. And because they're not pressuring, people think, oh, they're just sitting back. Well, no, they're moving to a place where they want that game to flow to more. But in the case of Nuno, spoke about it straight away, straight into pre-season. As soon as we come back, this is our plan. We had the worst record for conceding on set pieces last season, by a long way as well. If you would have just sort of even if we'd have had the worst, but by sort of one or two, it would have been probably quite a comfortable season, or more comfortable than what it was. He identified that, and we've now got the best defensive record against set pieces. We haven't conceded in some like 43 corners and things like that. And it's just one player, Milenkovic, the Serbian lad. I mean, only cost us 12 million as well. He's going to be one of the bargains of the season if he carries on. But and that's probably the difference, I would say. Why you never felt Cooper was correcting what was wrong. I don't like to be hard on him because he did do a lot for our club. But as I say, I have to be honest and say that the difference between Nuno and Cooper was, I said, this is actually how a Premiership club should run. This is our Premiership manager should be setting up. And when we play our games, we always feel competitive. There's going to be games where you don't have the possession. Your Chelsea's, your Liverpool, you're not going to dominate possession against them. Unless you're someone like Southampton, you spend 5 minutes passing it between the goalkeeper and a centre-back. Pointless passes. You're just not going to have that. But what we've always felt, we've been competitive in the games. We've always felt, oh, hang on a minute, we're doing okay here. We're actually dominating this area. Well, not perhaps dominating, but competing is a better word for each area of the pitch, defence, midfield, attack, with your chances. And that's a big difference between what Cooper had and Nuno. Cooper was more sort of that set team, and then you would hit quite quickly. Nuno, a lot more patient, and it's more about competing in them areas. So Liverpool's an excellent game to have a look at the difference between us. You had a team that was always going to have more possession, but after the game, everyone said, Forest deserved to win that game. The stats wouldn't show that, but we were competing.
Sorry, Bert. Locks has got something up there to enforce what you were saying. So basically, Bert, what you're saying, Locks, that Bert is saying that under Nuno, that Forest is a lot more cohesive, where Cooper, there's a lot of, like, if you watch that first half, there's a lot of ball hoofing and over the top, hitting and hoping, turning the ball over, inviting transition and pressure and wave after wave. We've seen a lot with Cooper, a lot of emphasis on, like, Bert, I'll answer this after Locks shows what he's got here, but like what we've noticed a lot with Leicester is there is a lot of like emphasis on our fullbacks pushing up the pitch and expected to attack as basically a winger, yet track back, which is one of the most frustrating things and why JJ's been exposed time after time. Locks, talk me what you've got for here. You're muted, mate.
Is that me or?
Sorry,
no,
sorry. Yeah,
Spock's...
just what Bert said about not playing a low block. I mean, so this is the Liverpool game here. This is the average position of Forest players versus Liverpool, and I'm going to compare that now to the average position of Leicester players versus Arsenal. So you can see how low, how deep we really were under Cooper, or how deep we are under Cooper against the better teams. I imagine the Spurs game, first game of the season, is very similar to this, but maybe even worse. But yeah, that's Steve. This is Steve Cooper ball against the bigger teams, and then this is Nuno ball under against the better teams. So you can quite clearly see. Yeah, I see where Bert's coming from in terms of lazy pundits, saying that that it's just low block. Because for me, I look at this. Yes, you have. Is Murillo number 5, or is that Milenkovic?
Yeah, Murillo, man. Yeah, Murillo.
So
yeah.
you can see how deep he is, but literally everybody else is a lot higher up the pitch. I mean, and you look at Leicester, everyone is deep. I mean, I'm just looking here, like, yeah, you're number 18 and is probably in a very similar position as to what Jamie Vardy was. You know what I mean? And Jamie Vardy's meant to be the spearhead. So, yeah, I agree with what Bert said. It's not comparable in my eyes, really, between Cooper and Nuno.
Bang on, Bert, for pointing that out, that mid block. What do you expect to see this weekend, Bert? You've just played against Palace. How much rotation do you expect to see of your starting 11 that you just played? I'll pull it up in a second.
My word, now that is, and any Forest fan, if I mean, Wolfie will tell you, we have a team now and he's got so many players that can play in so many different positions. It's really actually hard to pick what he's going to do. The only easy bit is the goalkeeper and the back 4. So that will definitely be Sells. It'll be Marino on the left, Murillo, Milenkovic, and Aina on the right back. That's the only sort of guaranteed bit. But I would imagine James Ward-Prowse will come back in. He'll sit at that number 6 role, the defensive midfielder, just there. But again, we played Dominguez and Yates against Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace, we had... I mean, it's got to be understood that our midfield, I think we only had... we haven't had our strongest midfield out since the first 10 minutes of the season. And he's bringing these players in and they're all performing. And this is what I say about the structure and why it's not a low block. He's actually telling these players to, right, that's what you do. And I want a certain amount of control in the middle of that park, and we'll keep it tight. We'll push you inwards if necessary. Block up that centre, keep it tight like that, and we'll start winning individual battles. I mean, Yates has played 2 World Cup winners this season, and I mean, McAllister, we had to get Yates to empty out his pockets after the game and give McAllister back to Liverpool, and that's a big difference, and he's got that confidence throughout the whole team. So that's what makes it difficult to choose necessarily who he's going to go for, because he's put that confidence into every player that, if you're going to be playing, trust me, you can hold it with Chelsea players, you can hold it with Liverpool players. And it's a big difference. And that's real big difference between Forest and under Nuno and Cooper, is that he wants you to compete in each area of the pitch, compete defensively. You have a look at Liverpool, weren't trying to double team Salah or anything like that. The amount of times there were Diaz on the other side as well with Aina, one-on-one with our fullbacks, and our fullbacks just took the ball off them. So he had trust that, hey, don't worry about that. But, as a team, you help your mate out if you need to, it should be. I say Yates on McAllister. And when we brought our subs on, it was a little bit like, you know, you're going to have that fullback. We all thought that if he brought Hudson-Odoi on, that fullback was going to struggle. That young lad was it O'Connell? Is it the young lad?
Yep.
Yeah. We all thought that, and then Robinson, Elanga gave him fits, and that's the difference. It's like instead of turning around and going right, we'll defend like this, and then we're going to smack forward and hit people at pace and things like that. There's a thing of we can mix it in each area, we can compete in each area of the pitch as and when we need to.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to playing against Leicester, you know, 3 of our home games have been tough. Away games have been real tough. As we've had Liverpool, Brighton, and Chelsea.
Yep.
I mean, Brighton. Why people are saying they're doing really well up where they are. I mean, they're the second biggest spending club in Europe or something. You know, they've built really well. Brighton. They deserve all the credit that they're getting. But and no disrespect, in the same way as you will see Forest, you know, we'll see you the same as it's a lower team, you know, it's a team. So in that's where I'm a little bit, will he do what he has done against the tougher teams? He tends to squeeze the centres more. So if you have a look, we'll play instead of out and out wingers sort of thing, right, left-sided players such as Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. He'll place Elliot Anderson and Dominguez on the right and left, and they'll actually squash, and it becomes almost a diamond.
Yep.
In that position more. If I had a gut feeling, that's how I think he'll go against you guys to start with. I think he will actually close that centre in a little bit. Close that centre and try and actually stop you getting that ball out to your wide players. You like, Cooper likes his wingers, man. In fact, his front three always do score quite a few goals. You know, they're always pretty dynamic. So I think he'll actually try and close the centre and stop the ball getting out to your wingers. Mm-hmm. And then so I actually think he will go probably James Ward-Prowse and Yates in the centre. Yates is a number 8, you know, running around, being a menace, upsetting opposition fans. What he's good at, you know. And then I think it'll be Elliot Anderson on the left, but he will come in a little bit more and sort of crush that centre in a little bit. Dominguez out on the right. It'll either be Dominguez out on the right, or he might actually start Jota Silva on that right now, because he's been putting in some performances he has. So I don't think it'll be Elanga, and I don't think Hudson-Odoi. I don't think he'll actually start with that pace up front like that. And then Morgan Gibbs-White in the 10, and obviously Wood as a centre forward. But it's so hard with Nuno at the minute. It's you know, because each player's, every time they've played, you know, they've done okay. It's but yeah.
Well, basically, but what a nice problem to have. I would love to be able to debating whether who we're going to start. We don't have that luxury at the moment, and we actually have the unfortunate problem of having the likes of Ricardo Pereira frozen out. This is the 11 I would like to see, Locks, and this is, if they are going to compact and play it for the middle, if we can stretch the pitch wide of our wingers and our back 3 like we did under Enzo Ball, I think we could do some damage. So the biggest question remains to be seen, Locks, will we start how we've played in that second half? Locks, what do you think of this 11? What do you expect, and who do you want to see?
No, it won't happen because it's Steve Cooper. We will play. We will play like we started the game against Southampton. That's how we will start the game against Forest. We will not see this. Cooper will switch to this, or switch to more of what we saw in the second half against Southampton when he is desperate. So if Nottingham Forest are 2-0 up in the second half, he will switch to something like this, but he will not start the game like this. I do see Mavididi getting dropped for this one. And the reason for that, I'm not saying he should be dropped. I'm saying it's because Fatawu has to start, and Steve Cooper will be too scared to play them both at the same time. He will go with Ayew and Fatawu in my eyes now. He will use Ayew's last-minute goal as an excuse to start him, I think. He will probably even look at playing Fatawu on the left. That's how crazy it is. Like that, you know, I don't want to sit here and slag Cooper off, but like we've seen it so many times this season and in pre-season where Abdul Fatawu has been brought on or started on the left, and it's ridiculous. Like we saw what he could do at in the second half against Southampton from the right, because that is his best position. Even if he doesn't do that, even if Fatawu does start on the right, I still think it'll be Jordan Ayew, but maybe him just starting on the left. So yeah, so Buzz has just put it in the comments as well. So that's what I see happening, mate. I think it will be completely unchanged, except for Fatawu on the right and Ayew on the left, or vice versa. You know, it is frustrating because we know what we can do when we play like we do in how we did in the second half. But I just don't think he will go that. I listened to his interview after the Southampton game, and Owen literally asked, was it Owen?
Oh, I don't know what's happened, but Locks has just dropped out. I'm sure I'll be back in a second. But don't mind us, mate. We've been pretty harsh with Steve Cooper the last, about a month or so, but he's turned the corner a bit. What happened?
Sorry, mate. I pressed back by accident, but yeah, no. I was just what I was saying was I think Owen asked him after the game and said to him like, is this something that this system, is this something you will go with more often? And he seemed really sheepish on that. He didn't really give like an actual answer, which makes me think that we will not start the game like that against Southampton. So yeah, that's what I think, mate. I think it will be, to give you the full team, I think it will be Hermanson, Justin, Okoli, Fass, Christensen, Skip, Ndidi, Fatawu, Buonanotte, Ayew, Vardy. That's what I think it will be.
All right. I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I'm be surprised if he drops Winks after when he played, but I think to get the most out of Winks, I thought it was harsh when they dropped him at first, but you weren't obviously getting the best out of Winks. But I think that was purely a system or a formation issue, hence why you saw him back to his best in that second half. Now, Bert, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate you taking your time.
Oh, my man. No worries.
Give us a score prediction, lad. What do you reckon the score is going to be?
Well, we don't score many, man. So if we win, it's always by one goal. So because we're playing Leicester, I'm going to go 3-1 to us.
In your come is confident.
Yeah, no, I do predict that. I'm pretty confident that we'll put you in our pocket a little bit on Saturday, mate. And so yeah, I reckon it'll be that game. It'll be a breakout game for us. 3-1, I reckon, and easy and comfortable as well. Comfortable, It's sort of one of them where 60 minutes in, it's like, I can relax.
Oh wow, Locks! If that happens, mate, we're going to be jumping on post-match, screaming, "Put Cooper out, stack him."
Well, you get the opposition fans on, mate. It's there's got to be a little bit of banter.
Of course, of course, mate.
No, in all seriousness, yeah, I am quite confident. Our away form's been good as well. Been better than our own form, so and and I know you're saying about your second half against Southampton. I'll be surprised if you are able to play like that against Forest with Southampton, mate. I mean, mate, like,
I think we could play like that against you, but Cooper won't. He'll refuse to do it, mate. He would refuse. He'll refuse to play that way.
Well, we're a bit. The reason I say that you probably won't is we're very patient. It's not actually to do with the players being any. It's actually to do with the system that we play. We play very patient. You only have to have a look at the difference in our wide people. Last season, I mean, Alanga, they looked electric, but under Nuno, who's a lot more sort of, he'll build up a lot more and pass around a little bit more. He's a lot more patient, build up. Therefore, you don't get them quick breaks happening quite so often, because obviously if you're being patient, the other team has to come back. And then, you're always in some sort of formation to be able to sort of build across like that. That's actually the reason I say that I don't think you'll do to Forest what you did in the second half to Southampton, purely because of how we our tactics, you know.
Defensively resolute.
Well, just well structured, well organised, well structured, and I'd say very patient. We don't very rarely overextend ourselves. It's more we don't overextend ourselves really at the wrong time too often. Sometimes you'll just see teams piling forward, and you know, and then there's a big gap between that midfield and that defence. If you could get between that gap, that's what I was saying about England in the Euros. They didn't seem to know when to push, and so there's always a gap between midfield and defence. We don't tend to have that. We tend to actually have that position, and we'll push into it and narrow down that space. So it's a lot harder to sort of counter in the way that you would like to, I suppose you could say. But Saturday will tell us, won't it?
Oh, mate, like, this is so. Before I get to score prediction here, Locks, Jeff, hoping for an entertaining game, but positive 2-1 Leicester win. Early Saturday morning kickoff for both me and Luke. Definitely no beers during the match. Bert's in WA as well, mate. So we're both going to have our alarm set for 2:45, I would imagine, in the morning. So, yeah,
just did that one. Just did it on Monday as well, mate. That one, it's sat there, isn't it? You know, it's an experience, and do you know if you're not playing well, you know, sometimes last season I've stayed up till 3 a.m. You're just thinking, oh my word, my God, it seems to make it. You know, it's 3 a.m. when I was back in England, and I was a season ticket holder for many years, and 3 a.m. was when you sort of crawled back in through your front door. It was a nicer feeling back then, man. But it is nowadays. So but that's what we should do, actually, mate. Innit? Just go on a heavy one and then hang in there till 3.
Oh, no. Not if you lose afterwards. That's the worst feeling. If you stay up and you get absolutely tanked, and then you've had fuck all sleep, or but worse, have to go to work afterwards and you're filthy. I used to hate that. And the whole relegation season, I was getting up at games like that, Locks, at like 2:00 in the morning, getting pumped, and then going to work like fuck. Like someone said, Rogers. Locks, mate, give us a score prediction. How are you feeling? Give us a quick closing thoughts on the game.
1-1. I think a Steve Cooper team, Bert will probably agree, a Steve Cooper team performs better when they're behind, in my opinion. It's from what I've seen of him so far. It's what I've seen of Leicester so far this season. When we're the favourite, I think we struggle a little bit. So in this game, we're not the favourites. And I think Nottingham Forest will go 1-0 up. And then I think we'll start playing maybe in the second half. So I'm going to say 1-1. I agree, but Forest don't score loads of goals. I like his optimism for a 3-1 win. I can't see it happening. I do see them winning. I could see that happening. I could see maybe a 1-0 or a 2-1 win, something like that. But I don't think they'll score 3. And I'm going to go 1-1, mate. I think it's. I think I'll be happy with that at the end of the game, to be honest with you.
What we do get though, lads, and this is what I would say as well, to always have a look at the difference between Cooper and Nuno a little bit as well, is if somebody's having possession and they've had 10 shots, 10 chances, generally speaking this season, there've been chances that you saw there didn't really matter, and Forest would have had, let's say, 4, but 2 good chances, in amongst that. And so that's why you always feel you're in the game, you're competing, because to Forest, as much as we don't score much, they when they create a chance, it tends to be a pretty decent one. We played Chelsea. That was a very up and down game, wasn't it? But you actually have a look at the stats there. We actually had more shots on target. I think 1 more big chance, to call them, don't they? All that nonsense. So Forest, they will create. They do tend to create chances, and they tend to be pretty good ones when they do. We're just struggling to put them in the back of the net. So that's what I say. This is the game, isn't it? This is the game I'm hoping, Morgan Gibbs White, mate, and all of a sudden our midfield realise, oh yeah, that's right, we're allowed to shoot. We haven't got to walk it in the net, and they're taking one touch too many, basically, the Forest players at the moment. They're trying to create that perfect goal, that perfect opportunity, that perfect moment. Sometimes, you just need to be a bit more pull it through, or shoot. And that's being looked at now. That's one of the things Nuno's been working on, is the fact that, hey, we're getting in good positions and wasting them. So hopefully, for us, that Buonanotte is a hell of a player. Buonanotte. That means good night, I believe, that, lads.
Oh, mate, we're scared of losing him. Buonanotte, we've got a few mouthfuls for names to that place, but Buonanotte, I reckon we're going to lose him in January. Locks, what do you reckon?
I don't know.
He's on loan,
yeah. They could recall him in January. I don't think they will. I think Brighton are too smart of a club. I think they've got enough cover in that area. I think they'll keep him at Leicester, get more game time under his belt, score more goals, get assists, and he'll be ready next year. But I keep seeing Leicester fans getting too excited online, thinking that there's a chance we can buy him. It won't happen. He's just signed a 4-year deal at Brighton. Liverpool are already sniffing around. I think he'll spend another year at Brighton next season, probably starting every game, if not, starting a lot of the games, and then he'll probably get picked up by one of the big six. So, yeah, enjoy him while it lasts, I would say, because he'll be a mega player in the future.
He'll stay with you all season. Just PSR, lads. He's off Brighton's wage bill.
They're all right, aren't they?
That's why you're loaning out. Oh, they're clear, mate. Yeah, they even that money they spent this summer, and they still didn't spend it all. They were still in credit afterwards. So
yeah, mate, they've made some big money. Sanchez, Trossard, the list goes on. Guys, thank you heaps for joining. Bert, you're a legend, mate. It was good talking to you.
Star, mate. And I'm no doubt, mate, we'll be messaging come Saturday morning. Actually, it depends how the games go. Does just be one of us throwing a grump.
Go. Locks, mate, give a shout out to what you're doing this week on your channel. I'll obviously have my alarm set. I'll see you for the match day live, mate. But give us everyone a shout what you're doing.
Yeah, mate. Fox's Den. This is all, by the way, everyone in the chat. I know there's some people in the chat who don't even live in the UK. There's a lot of people. I think everybody is abroad apart from me in the chat. So this is UK time tonight, 7 p.m. Fox's Den. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. Is like predicting the lineup. And then, of course, Friday from 7:45 p.m. it's match day live. So the watch along for the Forest game, which will be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Tell you what we should do, lads, after this as well. As a special is once we've got through the stress of this game, is actually have a meeting and have one of these talking about the Premier League and what they're like. We could join together on that one. You see, we could stand united. It's we could have a real good moan then and be
mate, a thumbnail. Agree on it, everyone's just like that.
Big sticks. Yeah.
So that's that. I think all fans, we should get a fan from each club. Apart from the top 6 idiots, them top 6 clubs, all the other 14, we can all have a good win, And fans.
Go on, mate.
Fans' prerogative, isn't it? It's what football fans do best. So.
All right, mate. Well, thank you, Bert. That's definitely one of the cards. I have got a few fans that are keen to do some stuff from other channels, but that's definitely one on the cards for the future. Guys, take care. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you. Also, chances are you hit from my channel, but so for you already know Locks, but if you haven't, Locks' name is now in the title. If you haven't subscribed to his channel already, please do. You can click on that now. Go ahead, subscribe to him, and he's got really good content. But hope to have you on again, mate. It was really good. Guys, take care, and I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
No, better luck, lads, yeah.